Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony Torgrud.
What's up, guys? I'm here. I took a week off, had a week-long work trip, and the day I got back, I got COVID. So I'm hanging in there, but I made it for you guys, and you can't get infected through the computer, so don't worry about it. Hopefully, we don't get demonetized for saying the magic word, but yeah, I'm here. So
Yeah, cheers for joining, to be honest, because, it can't be nice. I asked you before we started recording, how are you on a scale of 1 to death? And you said 1 beyond death. So being here for such an important episode shows the dedication to the Sempre Milan podcast cause. And it is a big episode. We have got a lot to cover to try and get through in an hour or however long it takes. But we've got Barcelona recap, Monza preview in the Silvio Berlusconi Trophy, Torino preview, the first game of the season, and then we are going to be doing our 2024-25 pre-season predictions as well. So that will be fun. We're going to be doing it the same way that we always do. We're going to be doing league predictions and then some Milan-specific ones too. But before we dive in, got to say thank you, as always, to our founding members, Des Windsor McGlynn, Tito Mac, Moritz Pullman, Joey Gawler, Kemin, MJ, Mats, Luke Villano, Raul Escobar, Rajat, Carlo Fassi, Nasser, Merlin Flinker, Derek Favretto, Heavenly 13, Mike Schulz, JT Physio, Tarek, Marco Vilea, and Roberto Resinos. I hope I've pronounced that right. Let me know if I'm pronouncing your names wrong. Anybody in that list, that would be great. I'm just going on vibes, really, to try and plow through that as quickly as I can. But really appreciate everybody who has been showing us support over on the Substack, and in particular, of course, to the founding members. We're entering a really, really crucial phase, you could say, because league action is literally a few days away, and it overlaps obviously with the end of the transfer window, so there'll be plenty on there. We have a bonus article over on the Substack on the summer mercato, and it just basically summarizes all of the business that we've done so far. So if you want one place for all of the deals and how they impact us financially, that's the place to go. There was another article went out yesterday, and it weighed up basically the pros and cons of buying San Siro, because that's one of the issues that has been circulating in the media. The council said both clubs are interested in buying it, so we get all the revenues and all that stuff that comes with it. The bonus podcast, which me and Isaac did on Friday, in your absence, we did a bit of a summary of the USA tour, and in that we went into some of like the behind the scenes info on the logistics, the commercial sides of the deal, stuff like the go-karting trip, the first pitch that Zlatan threw out, like collabs with the teams in Chicago as well. So that was a bit of a behind the scenes thing as well. There's plenty going on over there, so go try it out for a week for free if you want, and there'll be a lot of good stuff on there between now and the end of the window, and of course beyond that too. Barcelona friendly, you were there.
I was, yeah. Got I'm sure you guys saw the picture on Twitter. If not, got to meet Baresi, so that was pretty neat. If Milan I reports that he has COVID, either he gave it to me or I gave it to him. So forever intertwined.
While you kissed.
We did share. We did cheers a glass of wine. So had a good time together. That was pretty neat. Couldn't say a word to him, but it was a lot of hey. But that was cool. Where am I going with this? No, I did get to sit in one of the sky boxes. There were some people from Milan's commercial side in our box. I won't name names, but some of the higher ups on the commercial side of the company, and then a lot of Puma representatives. So that was pretty neat. Got to be around some big names, and in fact, Zlatan and Moncada were 2 boxes down for me. So got a picture of them, not with them. They wouldn't take one with me. I was trying very hard, but didn't come to fruition. But I had a great view of the game.
Is Moncada ripped?
He is. He's jacked. I thought for sure he was just wearing small T-shirts, but no, he's a big man. He's a very big man.
Is he tall, or is he like?
He's taller than me, so
like
it could be about normal size.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably like either 5'11", 6 foot, around that range. Nothing crazy, but definitely not a short guy. I did meet him on Monday, just in passing, and I just gave him like one of the little one of these, one of those handshake things that you do, like the little sideways one, and that was cool. That was it. And then yeah.
Does he
So
speak English?
if he does, he didn't say anything to me. So
Maybe that was deliberate. Maybe he was like, no English very well.
yeah, exactly. I just saw him and was like, "What's going on, man?" And gave him the little side handshake, and then he kept walking. I was like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
But
I know that's very cool though. Still, you're one of the
yeah,
few people in the world who can say that they've seen him in person, let alone met him. Although he's
he is a
less
real person.
mysterious
Yeah,
now, but it used to be like, holy shit, Moncada's at a
yeah.
Primavera game because
No
nobody
one knew who
ever
he
saw him.
was.
Yeah, but no, that's very cool. And then the game itself, how do you think it went? Obviously, it was another late slash early one for us, whichever
Yeah,
way you want to look at it. But it was pretty entertaining. I think first 25 minutes we were excellent, and then after that, Lewandowski did his stat padding, and the penalties was a bit of farce. I didn't realise we were going to penalties, but at least we won 3 out of 3.
yeah. The game was a lot of fun, especially for neutrals. Um, like I said, opening 20 minutes, Pulisic assist and then goal. His goal was incredible. His assist was
Mm.
pretty nice too for Jovic, but
Yeah.
we were the much better team to start. I think in the stadium they announced it was like 51,000 and some odd people were there, which pretty good numbers. Where I was sitting, it looked fairly empty. I didn't realize how big that stadium was, but I guess it's got a 78,000 capacity. So I was at first when you're looking at it, you're
Mm.
like, wow, there's a lot of empty seats in here. And then when they read it off, you go, wow, there's more than Juve's stadium can hold. So, that's pretty good. For friendly, the majority of the fans were definitely Barca when
Yeah.
Lewandowski scored. I mean, the pop was deafening. It was so loud compared to Milan. There was one guy that I could hear, and I don't know where he was sitting, but you could just hear him in the background every now and then. AC Milan. He was just chanting it above everyone else. So I was like, keep it up, guy.
Respect to that guy. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, the game was awesome when Christian got shot in the face with that ball. That looked a little rough.
Yeah.
So we didn't
Yeah.
get a replay, obviously, because we were there. But then we watched the highlights the next day, and we're like, "Damn, he got
Yeah.
rocked." So,
Oh yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
hoping he doesn't have a concussion because that looked really painful. And yeah, the Torriani saves were incredible. Really impressed with him, especially because he wasn't supposed to really play anything this summer tour, and I
Hmm.
think he was like second or third choice for Primavera, anyways. Like,
Yeah.
it was
Third.
really unexpected. So good for him. Happy of him. And that's it. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like the big takeaway was um, that in the first 25 minutes we looked so good. That is, it's not a million miles away from what our starting lineup will be. Obviously, pending another new arrival or two. But that's the way it should be, I guess. You gear upwards in your preseason and try get yourself towards a position where you're ready. And yeah, we were very good in that first even quarter of the game, shall we say? And it felt like the goals were coming. We were pressing hard, high up the field. That one where Pulisic got rocked was because he closed down the keeper, obviously, and got it leathered at his face. But it shows that we were getting near.
Mhm.
And then the goal when it happened was a nice one. The first goal, this is Musa just running like 50 yards up the right side, and then into Chukwueze to Pulisic and across to Jovic. I think that was a sign that front four that he decided to play with Chuk, Pulisic, and Leao behind the striker can work. And then the second goal was Leao to Pulisic too, so he was involved in both goals. And yeah, that form, we wondered if it could work. It did click and it did look good. There was a lot of movement, a lot of dynamism, and hopefully that's something to build on because it seems to have gone from like a temptation to now this is how it's going to be. This is how we're going to line up, and it might need to change against certain opponents. But I'm glad we got to see it. Positive sides done basically though after 25 minutes. After that, it was Barca. They were running the game, unfortunately, and I think that second half performance in particular was a bit of a reminder of the work that we still got to do. I know
Yeah.
changes were made which disrupted the flow of the game and stuff, but Barca, because they've got Hansi Flick in charge now, obviously who was Bayern and the German national team, they pressed. They weren't like rabid dogs or anything, but they pressed us hard, and we didn't have an answer playing out in the second half. Unfortunately, only once or twice did we break out of our own half doing
Yeah.
that basically, and we were
For me, it
clamped in.
was it was Liao. As soon as he came off, we were unable to get through, like you said. when he was on, he was dynamic. For joining the team late after his vacation and not playing a single minute of preseason, um, I was really impressed with how immediate he was to just be right back into it and to
Mm,
play a full 45, or I say full, but
yeah.
play a full half. Was impressive, and seeing him live. I mean, the 2 games I went to, not last season, the season prior, the first one he didn't play, and then the second one he got subbed off injured in 10 minutes. So I never really
Yeah.
got to see him play, and I was just blown away by how impressive he is in real life. I don't know how to explain it, but when you're viewing it with your own eyes in person, it looks so much better
Mm.
than through a TV. I mean, you go to a bunch of games, you know what I'm talking about, but
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's yeah, it was a sight to be seen, and yeah, I think he's gonna have another great season.
Yeah, he looked on it immediately. As you said, he tormented that right back, who I gather was pretty inexperienced for Barcelona. But yeah, tore him apart. In particular, was that one thing, and it's what I'm clinging on to hope for with RLC, where RLC sent Gundogan to the shops. He just body fainted, and Gundogan went flying the other way, and then he took it forward and he whipped a perfect ball out to the left. And then Leao did a little step inside and outside and dropped his man, and that was like poetry in motion. And I know exactly what you mean, because when you talk about Leao being probably our only player that can get you out of your seat, like, it's not a figure of speech. When you're watching him, you're like, holy shit, when something like that
Yeah,
happens. It is proper entertainment. I think, yeah, when you see something like that, you realize what we've got with him. And yeah, that's it really. I mean, I think we've got to take the positives from the tour in general. We saw plenty of good. We're used to, I mean, last year we didn't win a single game, did we? But we're used to going out to the USA or wherever, playing these games against top level opponents and just getting beaten pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah,
Being the punching bag of the tour, be it in this Audi Cup that it was before, and now the Soccer Champions Tour. This time we held our own. We played some really good stuff while we did that. I think I'm almost comforted by the fact that the the things that we presumed needed fixing still need fixing. As weird as that sounds. So, like, I'm watching the game thinking we really still do need that defensive midfielder, and Salamanca's at right back isn't going to work.
no,
That's what I thought anyway. He struggled, to be fair, and Rafinha got way too much joy as well. So, like, in the defensive phase, there's still some things to focus on. But overall, good result. Oh, the penalties as well. Torriani, the hero, made 2
yeah,
good saves. So props to him. He really has seized his chance out there. As you said, third choice Primavera to potentially starting the season as our backup to Maignan, and it's been fully earned. Second half, he struggled a bit playing the ball out, but apart from that, outstanding
yeah.
tour.
You can't really blame him for conceding 2 to Lewandowski. I mean, that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
best strikers of our generation. Like,
Oh yeah,
you can't fault him for that. It's not like they were simple shots. I mean, they weren't worldies either, but very good strikes. It is what it is.
it's that Lewandowski finish, from the edge of the box, right foot, bending
Yeah,
it inside the net, is a trademark finish of his.
yeah,
And many better goalkeepers, many more experienced goalkeepers have tried and failed to stop those. So he also denied him with that header at the back post.
yeah,
He made a couple of good saves on Rafinha, who seemed to have a pretty personal battle with. And yeah, it was brilliant from him. Kevin Zaroli as well, who scored 2 winning penalties in our UEFA Youth League run last season, ended up scoring the penalty in sudden death that set up the win. So that was good. And happy days. They came back straight after the game, I believe, and then got a couple of days off and back in training now ahead of Tuesday's game, which is a nice segue into it. The Trofeo Silvio Berlusconi. We played this and won this, so we are the holders of this particular competition. And I guess the first part of call is to read the predicted starting lineup for the game, and this has come from calciomercato.com, so we'll see if it ends up being true. But it's expected to be Maignan in goal, Calabria, Tomori, Pavlovic, Teo Hernandez, Benacer and Reinders in the double pivot, Pulisic, Loftus-Cheek, Leao, and then Morata up front.
I like it.
I don't think that will be the team. I'll be honest. I don't think that he's going to start Pavlovic and Morata. Um,
Really?
but I don't. I mean, Morata only started training on Saturday. Pavlovic has had a couple of days more. But maybe he does see this as the way to get minutes in. I just thought they'd get like 30 minutes at the end, maybe, to
Well,
just
maybe
sort
they
of
only played the first half,
half. Yeah,
because he
maybe so.
started Liao with 0 training. Different
And
caliber.
I tell you, he's not dropping Chukwueze. Like, I just don't see
Yeah, I think
him
that's an
just
odd
drop.
one to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's more likely to play RLC Benacer in midfield again, and then to play Chukwueze, Pulisic, Leao again behind the striker, whoever that may be. I think Jovic is a lot more match fit, so or at least he's been with the team for a fair bit longer, so I can see that being the team. How much emphasis are we placing on the result here? Like, do we need that first trophy in the bag?
I don't think it matters, but I do think we should be winning this. I mean, it's still just Monza. Is
Yeah,
my mic screwing up right now?
yeah, it's cackling a bit.
Okay, sorry, but I'm gonna unplug it.
Okay. While you do that, is that better?
I hope so. All good?
Yes, there we go. Yeah, yeah, As you say, yeah, we should be winning this definitely. I think Monza obviously they've lost Palladino. They got Daniel Maldini back, so he's going to play against us. But in general, it just feels like I don't know. Have they burnt out a little bit? You know, they had a brilliant first season in Serie A. It was always going to be tough to follow that up. I can see them maybe struggling a little bit more this season. And it's an opportunity again for some of our players to stake a claim and prove that when match day one comes around on Saturday, they should be in the starting lineup. So expect for us to take it fairly seriously, I think.
I didn't realize Nesta was their coach.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Wow.
Palladino has obviously gone to Fiorentina. So that's another thing, you
Huh.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an interesting club. It definitely is a lot closer to the Ital Milan that Berlusconi wanted than what we have now.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I don't know how they'll do this season. They're pretty difficult to predict because obviously we're doing our predictions shortly, but I was looking through and looking at their business compared to other teams, and there's a lot of teams that you look at and you think, yeah, could work, rather than being like when they first came up and they had that summer window, it's like, yeah, they're going for it. They're going
Yeah.
to really try and be ambitious. However, obviously Berlusconi's no longer with us. Galliani's running the ship now, pretty much, um, and yeah, I mean, I always hope that they do okay. Like, I'd rather they stay up than some of the other teams, but I
Yeah.
find them quite difficult to call this season. But yeah, we got to get the win here, and especially if we're fielding a starting lineup that strong. It's at San Siro, obviously, so home comforts for us. Meant to be quite a good crowd for it, which will be good. Morata's first minutes, Pavlovic's first minutes. Don't think Emerson Royale's going to be in time, but we'll
Probably
see.
not. He might
We'll
be
see.
just in the stands. I would assume he's not going to be playing.
Yeah, no. Um, Prediction?
3-1.
Yeah, I can see it being wide open. I don't think there's any point in turning this into like a defensive battle. Might as well just have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and I'll say 3-2. I can see us being a little bit shaky at the back still, and a late winner from us, and it'll be Liberale. No, it might not be
Ooh.
because he played. That's something actually. Futuro, their first ever game, they won 3-0 against Lecce in the cup, so that was good. And Liberale played and scored. But yeah, I think there might be an unlikely match winner. But yeah, that is the final pre-season game. I say pre-season, obviously there's a trophy involved, but it is a final pre-season game before Torino on Saturday night, European time, Saturday afternoon for you. So this is where it all begins. This is where Fonseca will start being properly judged. And it's, I would say, on paper, it's not the worst game to get first up, Torino have caused us problems. We never seem to we blew them out 7-0 once, but apart from that, we've struggled to beat them consistently. They changed head coach this summer. Ivan Juric has left after quite a long time in charge. It's Paolo Vanoli who is the new manager. signed a 2-year deal with them. In terms of the summer business that they've done, they got Duvan Zapata on a permanent from Atalanta, who have just lost Scamacca to a pretty serious knee injury. Signed Sal Coco from Las Palmas for 7.5 million. Adam Messina, centre back from Udinese, for 1 million. They got Shea Adams from Southampton, which surprised me at the time, but I think that's a pretty good move for him. He's joined on a free. And then there's a few other nondescript transfers. And then in terms of sales, the big one is obviously Alessandro Bongiorno to Napoli for 35 mil. Ricardo Rodriguez has left. They sold Kone to Como. But yeah, again, apart from that, it's a pretty nondescript list of names. Where do you think Torino will be, and where does this rank in terms of a difficult test for day one?
Yeah, I think Torino's actually going to really struggle this season. There's just too much change for a club that's pretty consistently inconsistent. So I wouldn't be surprised if they finish bottom half this season, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I think we should absolutely be winning this game. I know they beat us 3-1 to close out last season. Well, no, it was the second to last week.
So yeah,
But
it was Juric's last home game, so I think they played up a bit for that.
But yeah, I just don't foresee them actually giving us too much trouble. I think the way Fonseca's played is a lot more attacking oriented than the way Pioli plays. It seems like I don't like just coming on and attacking Pioli, but it just seems like everything I'm seeing from the training is so much more training oriented than Pioli.
Mm-hmm.
It always seemed like it was just kind of vibes. So I think we're going to do pretty well, at least in this game. I'd be shocked if we don't pick up all 3 points in our opener. Yeah. Sorry, struggling here.
No, that's okay. I'm just doing some research in the background here, and I am in fear, having seen that their new manager Fanoli also plays a 3-5-2. So maybe it's not the seismic change that we thought that there would be. They actually played yesterday their first competitive game of the season against Cosenza at home in the Coppa Italia, because obviously they enter in that first round. They played a 3-5-2. Milinkovic-Savic in goal. Vojvoda, Coco, and Messina as the 3 centre backs. So that's something to target, because I don't feel like they've replaced Bongiorno yet. Obviously, they got decent cash for him. Torino are always going to be a club that ships on their best assets for the right price. But I think with Bongiorno, it felt a little bit more because he'd come through the academy. He is a Torino fan, and it was always going to be quite a painful parting of ways. But they got good money for him that they haven't really spent yet, unless their idea of spending it was to turn some of those loans into permanents, like for Zapata. But yeah, they're Bellanova at right wing back. There's still some rumours about him leaving. Lazaro at left wing back. Ricky, Linetti, and Ilic as the midfield 3. I don't think that's too bad. There's quite a nice blend going on there, and it feels like they've been around for quite some time in Serie A, at least those 3. And then Sanabria and Zapata up front. They won 2-0. There was an own goal inside the first minute, and then Zapata scored in the 84th to seal it. So yeah, they've already played their first competitive game. How did their pre-season go? They beat Virtus Verona in their first friendly. Then they drew 0-0 with Lyon. Then they beat FC Metz of France 3-0. So I played 3 friendlies.
They also lost to Cremonese as a friendly.
Oh, did they? Can't see that on this list, but that's not great.
No,
that's not great. I'm with you. I think they'll be fine, Torino, because I think there's just a bit too much in terms of quality in the starting lineup for them to go down. But given they've always been a team that under Juric you looked at and thought, maybe if things go right, if they get a couple of signings right, they could push on for like the top 8, and they never quite did it. I don't think we're looking at that this year. I think we're looking at quite a big risk with the head coach, because you knew what you were getting with Juric, and with this new guy, I'm not so sure. Maybe it'll be a seamless transition, like Conte to Inzaghi or whatever, but we'll wait and see. But I can't see them pulling up any trees this season. We need to win this. We need to set a statement. It was the first home game of last season as well, wasn't it? Beat them 4-1, I think.
Yeah, I think
so a similar result would be nice. I think we're all looking for the same things in this, which is for that dynamic attacking play to carry on that we saw in pre-season, but to be sustained over a longer period of the game, for that high press to still be there, and for us to just have a bit more balance in transition, because with this 3-5-2, Torino are going to try and break quickly on us. That's what the system is set up to do. I think they are going to try and frustrate us and hit us up the other end with the speed and size of Zapata and Sanabria. So we need to be cautious on that front and not allow them too much space in transition. And also, while we're waiting for a defensive midfielder to arrive, Cardinale is actually in Milan now, and we are apparently going in with a new offer for Fofana. So we'll wait and see if that gets over the line. But it's not going to be done by the game on Saturday. You wouldn't have thought anyway. So while we're waiting for that defensive midfielder to come in, which I think most people would have regarded as the most important signing of the summer, along with the striker, we need to see signs that we can cope without, because it's no good going into this game wide open and saying, well, we didn't have that midfielder because we need points early. We need to build confidence. We need to keep the good vibes going, I guess. Prediction.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, really. I'm going to go 3-0 clean sheet to start the season. Everyone's going to hit the ground running. I'm going to say the entire Trident. Oh, wait, now we have 4 people in attack. Okay, Leao, Chukwueze, and Pulisic are all going to score.
Yeah, I love that. The first goal of the season.
To assist all 3.
Oh, please inject it. Actually, that would marry up with one of the predictions that I've made, but we'll come on to it. The first goal of the season for us is going to be scored by Christian Pulisic, and it's going to be scored pretty early on. I feel confident with that. And I think we're going to win 2-1. I think we'll go 2-0 up, and I think Torino will score from a set piece in the second half to make it nervy, but we will hang on, and we'll get 3 points to start the season, which, is all you can really ask for. Serie A fixtures for the weekend. Are there any that stand out? Aside from that, I know Inter away at Genoa, and that's basically the first game. That's Saturday tea time, or Saturday evening. Parma, Fiorentina, Monza, Verona, Napoli, Bologna, Udinese, Cagliari, Roma, Lazio, Venezia, Lecce, Atalanta, Juve, Como. Juve Como is quite good. That'll be an interesting first test for Fabregas and his mob.
Well, he lost in the Coppa Italia already to Sampdoria.
And Varane has a knee injury, so
yeah,
he's stayed true to form at least.
Yeah,
but they're going to be the story to watch, aren't they? I think sort of like when Venezia first came up and when Monza first came up. Before that, I think they'll be the team where everyone is like, how are they going to get on? They've made some moves where it's like, that could work, or it might not.
I saw they're playing Cutrone as a 10, which is interesting to say the least. He scored a late equalizer, sent him to penalties, so
and then they lost on pens, did they?
Yep.
To Sampdoria. Yeah.
I just think it's really irritating how Serie A will do match week 1 over 3 days, including a Monday.
Yeah.
Like, it's so not needed, but whatever. I'm just glad we're the second time slot, get us out of the way early so we can enjoy the weekend.
Yeah. And let's hope that we do enjoy it. Let's hope for a positive result. And 2-1 for me. And it'll just be good. It'll be good. Like, there's excitement naturally with the new coach and everything like that. I haven't seen loads of people boldly declaring that we're going to go and win the league, but Fonseca said it after the final game. He said that's the target and that's what we're going to go for. And I think Ibra will no doubt say something similar at some point. So it's about
nice
setting the tone.
Hear that that's the target, because Pioli never could. He never would, And even when that was like the unspoken target, he would never say it. At least Fonseca is putting it all on the line early and saying, like, that's our goal. We're going for the second star. We're going for the Scudetto. Get in or leave. So
Morata said the same as well. He said that is the aim. Morata actually has joined us and divorced his wife today. So is that our fault? I don't know. But yeah, it is good to hear of these
needed to get rid of all distractions ahead of the season.
Imagine if that's what it was. I mean, he did ask for respect, so I will leave it there. But the timing is maybe she hated Italy, even though she's Italian. She's like, I'm not going home. Or they got
Maybe
married
she's
in Milan.
a Juve
Sorry.
fan or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it is nice to hear that that's the aim. I think it's logical. We got a bit sick of Scaroni coming out the president of the club, technically the most important figurehead, even though he isn't really, he's more stadium side. But he kept coming out and saying top four's the objective, and it did wear thin after a while. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you can't in one breath talk about how good our finances are and about how our ambition is to become one of the elite in Europe again, and then keep saying every year top four's the target. Like, well, yeah, it is, but we want a bit more than that,
Yeah.
Um, it's time for predictions. Let's do it.
Bum, bum,
Let's do it.
bum.
So I sent you the list of categories that we're going to do our predictions on. We will also be doing an article on this, which will go out later in the week, I believe on Thursday or Friday, probably Thursday. I know that we asked our loyal listeners what they thought about whether we should do the predictions now before game one or whether we should wait until the end of the transfer window, because there could be some, just for us, there could be some important additions between now and the end of the month, let alone for other teams. But the overwhelming majority of people want us to do it before a ball is kicked. So that's what we're doing. And yeah, as mentioned, article will be on site for these picks, but we're going to do ours now. And we start with the Scudetto winner. Who have you got?
Us. We're doing it.
Oh, yes.
I'm going
Hoist
in,
it up.
man. Yeah,
Hoist it
we're.
up.
No, I think we're gonna do it. We got the motivation. We got the drive. And I think Fonseca wants to do it. When you say that's the goal, your objective for the season before a ball's been kicked, you have to achieve it or you're out. So I think that's the goal. At the very least, I want minimum second place, and it can't be a 20-point gap. It's got to be a close
Oh,
race.
no.
If we miss out on the Scudetto by like 5 points, I'll be devastated, but I won't feel embarrassed. Like getting second place and being 20 off, I guess did take a lot of the sting out of Inter winning the second star because we just saw it coming, but it didn't feel like we were in second.
Yeah. It felt like there wasn't a second when there was such a big gap.
Yeah.
It just quickly became a joke. I've got Inter as the Scudetto winners, and I think continuity is going to be a big factor in their favour. There's been a lot of change around them. Basically, everybody has changed head coach barring Atalanta, so that's something. They haven't really lost anyone, and they've added. I'm not as high on the Zielinski signing as a lot of other people. He's already injured, I gather. But Torriani, I think, is an upgrade on Arnautovic's backup striker. I don't think anybody could argue that. They signed Josep Martinez, who's going to take over as the number one from Sommer, who was pretty good last season. Whether he takes over now or in a year or two, we don't know. But yeah, Lautaro's renewing, which is annoying. We kind of expected a fire sale, and I still think it's coming at some point. Like, I still think they're going to have to make sales. But for this first summer, Oak Tree, who have taken over as the owners, seem to just want to keep things as they are. And it's Inzaghi. It's that 3-4. It's that 3-5-2 system. It's the same protagonists: Lautaro, Thuram, Çalhanoğlu, Barella, Di Marco, Bastoni. It's unfortunately a fucking good core of players, and I think that they are going to win the league. But I don't think it'll be by anywhere near the same margin as last season. I think they'll be pushed quite a bit closer, because I think that they'll put more emphasis on Europe, and we'll see that aging squad tested a bit more with some injuries, which they were lucky to avoid last season. So yeah, I've got them as winning the league, and I hope to be wrong. Put it that way.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not too hot on them this year. Like, yeah, they didn't do a whole lot of moves in the market, which in a weird way works out better for them. Not losing anyone like they had been in the past, but they only brought in 2 players, and I guess that's all we've brought in at the moment as well. But I don't see or either of them really upgrade. They brought in 2 backups essentially. Taremi's not going to be the starter over Lautaro. He's not going to be the second striker over Thuram. So he's just a bench player. Yeah, he might get him more goals than Arnautovic, but
I think that what you've just said there proves that it was probably a good move. Like they've upgraded on depth, and he was a free transfer, so like we
yeah, I'm not
wanted
saying it's
him.
a bad move. I just don't think it moves the needle nearly as much as some people are thinking. And same with Zielinski. I think he was already on the downward curve of his career, anyways.
Yeah, I
As are
agree with that.
all Napoli players, to be honest with you. But uh,
They
yeah, I
just
don't
they
know.
just keep signing sort of players in their early 30s, and I don't think that they've got the oldest or one of the oldest average squads.
Yeah,
And yeah, I don't know. I just think that if they were to get some injuries, it could spiral because you saw with us when a few players went down at the same time, the depth options then went and got injured, and it all just spirals out of control. I think they've been pretty lucky with injuries. They picked up a couple in pre-season. In fact, I think
yeah,
more than that. Zielinski got one, Taremi got one, De Vrij got one, and Acerbi too. I think.
yeah. Sure.
So they're yeah. So but then like they've got
And
Pavard to step in,
Buchanan as well, but I mean he'll
right?
be back this month, so
Yeah. They got Pavard to step into the back three, where Damian can also play. Zielinski, he wouldn't have started anyway, so it's no great loss. And if anything, they've got Fratesi as a backup for that midfield three. And yeah, I guess Taremi being injured would be the one that would hurt them, but he's meant to be back for the first game or the second game. So, but yeah, I don't know. I just think they had the best starting 11 by a mile last season. It hasn't changed one bit. The only thing that can derail them is injuries and potentially Inzaghi getting tactically found out a little bit. Maybe other teams are looking at it and thinking, "Okay, we've got you this time."
yeah.
We'll see that in round four. When is it
Well,
round
and
four or round five?
the interesting thing is because their tactics under Inzaghi have never evolved. They've stayed the same consistently, and yet they only lost, was it 2 games in the league last season?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, too.
And the season prior they lost 11.
Mm.
So there's obviously more that goes into it than just um, luck or understanding tactics or anything like that. But you know, they've shown that they can be beaten, this exact squad, because it hasn't changed at all. Uh, I guess it just comes down to how often they find the back of the net. If Lautaro is putting in 30 again this season, um, then obviously that's going to help them quite a bit. But how long can that form last? I don't know.
How
Can
long
it?
can you stay injury free? Like he's had another season with a lot of
Yeah,
commitments. They had the Coppa America where he scored the winning goal.
yeah. Went to the
Um,
final again.
yeah. Um, And yeah, it is annoying that he's renewing, but whatever. Yeah, I hope to be wrong on them. I hope things just unclick in some way. But they were so good last season that they need quite a big drop off, and also they need rivals to be more consistent and put pressure on them, which is
Yeah.
where we come to the top four in order. So you've got us first. How's the rest of the Champions League spots looking? Should probably be
Um.
top five, actually, shouldn't
Yeah,
it?
that's what I was
Yeah.
gonna ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll do top five.
So top five, it'll be us at number one. I'm gonna put Inter second because all the reasons why you think they'll be first are, good enough to be
Yeah. Yeah.
second minimum. Uh, I don't know who I want to put third, to be honest, because I'm really not impressed with anyone at this point.
Mm,
Um, I cautiously put Napoli third. I
okay.
I I don't even feel good about that prediction. I think there's a better chance of them not getting Champions League than finishing third. But I mean, really, this is a two-team league this season. Juventus have shown absolutely nothing under Mata. I don't think they look good at all. Uh, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Lazio sneak in fifth, and I guess Juve in fourth.
Okay. That's your top five.
Yeah, I guess so. I
It's
don't
very
like it
pretty
though.
non-committal that.
Yeah, I don't like any. I mean,
Just like
because none of
maybe
them feel
them.
good enough. But the problem is,
Yeah,
none of the rest are good enough to overtake them either.
yeah.
So maybe.
All
Oh,
right.
you know what? Throw. Well, I'm gonna edit this.
Okay.
Milan 1, Inter 2. I'm gonna put Atalanta 4th, Juve 3rd, Lazio 5th.
Okay. Do you want to do 6 and 7 while we're at it?
I'll put Roma 6th, Napoli 7th.
Okay. So my top 4 in order is 1 Inter, 2 us. I think that we finished second last season and it ended up being quite comfortable. We overhauled that points deficit with Juve.
Yeah.
And we haven't lost any of our stars. If anything, we've added pieces to the squad, which is good. We've added competition for places. I think tactically we're going to be better this season. So I think that we won't surrender second spot. But I do think you could also rope us into that group of teams where there's like quite a few unknowns, and it'll either work or it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, then it could be quite a long season, as it looked like being for large parts of last season with the injuries and whatnot. In third, I've got Juve. I agree, they have not been impressive in pre-season. However, I think they're going to make moves yet between now and the end of the season. They're going to definitely sign another defender. We'll come on to one of the rumours for that. But they were going to sign Todibo and that fell apart. So they're going to go for somebody there. Coop Miners, I think he's going to end up going there because he's basically refusing to train for Atalanta. So they'll work something out there. And I think they'll sign at least one winger. I saw that Raheem Sterling was linked. I think he'd make Serie A look easy. Or Nico Gonzalez from Fiorentina. Their squad is a little bit thin, but I think they'll do business still. So that's part of my reasoning for this. And I think Motta will get his ideas across eventually, and I think they'll play a much better brand of football that suits some of the players that they've got. But I don't think they'll be consistent enough to challenge for the title, to be honest. But I do like what they've done in rebuilding the midfield. If they have Douglas Luiz, Kefren Turam and Coop Miners as their midfield, if one of them's a playmaker, whatever, going into next season, that's the best in the league for me. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe the jury's still out on them. I've got them third. Fourth, this might be a surprise to some, I've got Roma. I think that they have done some really good business this summer. They have signed Dovbyk, so they got the new starting centre forward in. Spent 30 mil on him. I know he wasn't amazing at the Euros, but I still think he's a good addition. I wouldn't have been disappointed if we'd signed him. They got Sula in from Juve, who was good for Frosinone last season.
Very well.
Yeah, and I think that with him, they have a bit of cover for when Dybala's not available, which was really important because they relied too much on him. Enzo Lafay for the midfield. He played well against us for Stade Rennais in the Europa League, and I think he's a good signing. Angelino in at left back. But yeah, I think the De Rossi factor is something. He needs to show the same good signs that we saw last season when he was technically still an interim coach. But I like them. I like their team. I think that they're going to have a good season. And then fifth, I've got Atalanta. Continuity, like nothing much has really changed, and I think that they'll get into the Champions League places again. Sixth, I've got Napoli. I could see them. I can see things turning sour pretty quickly there. Let's put it that way. You know what Conte's like anyway. Whatever system he plays, I don't feel he's going to get the best out of Kvaratskhelia. The Osman thing has still not been sorted out properly yet. They've been a bit slower in the window than I thought they were going to be, considering that Conte normally asks for an overhaul pretty early on. And yeah, there's just that Conte unknown. All it takes is some bad results and some strange words come out of his mouth, and all of a sudden the feel-good factor's gone instantly. I think it could be a bit of a, not like Spurs, because they won the league fairly recently and stuff, but he spent so long sort of waiting for the right project to come along, one where he could win instantly, and then he finally accepts Napoli, who'd been trying to get him for like 2 months. And I just think it's like, there's a whole feel to it all of like, did they even really want each other? Or did he want to go there? Or was he waiting for something better? And that means that I think he'll have less patience than maybe he would have done with us or with Juve. And then my seventh place is Bologna. I don't think that they're going to have a massive drop-off, basically, and be mid-table. I think the Motta to Italiano is a like for like. They're both 4-2-3-1. They play good football. They've lost Xerxes, But I think the guy that they've signed from Toulouse could potentially replicate his goals tally. I mean, he only needs, 10 in the league. And aside from that, their core is still looking pretty strong. They sold Calafiore for a huge amount compared to what they paid. And based on how Sartori's done business, I think that they'll spend the money well. And being in the Champions League will be difficult for them to juggle. But if they just sort of accept that they're probably going to go out in the first phase and just focus on, staying relatively solid in the league, I could see them finishing 7th again. And my hot take for this is that Lazio are going to be a bottom half team this season. They have binned off Sarri and gone for Baroni.
Fuck,
That's not good. And they have their team's worse. Like their team's worse. I think they're going to. I won't say they'll be in a relegation battle, but I think they're going to really struggle. I think they could be 12th or something, realistically.
Did I have them in my top 4 or 5?
I don't think you did. Oh, you might have had them 7th. Yeah, I think you had them 7th.
Okay.
Or maybe Napoli was 7th.
Well,
but either way, yeah.
With this new information, if they were in my top 5, I'm sure someone wrote it all down to make fun of me in 8 months, but take them out.
Yeah.
Move down.
It's funny
I apologize for the copious amounts of tissues you've had to watch me use.
It's live, it's real, it's authentic. I'm trying to find a starting lineup that they fielded in pre-season, but I can't actually find one. But yeah, I just don't think it's very good. They didn't have a bad pre-season. Like there's some good results in there, but I'll wait to see it out on the field. I mean, they start with a home game against Venezia, so it's not the worst. But they actually play us match day 3, 31st of August. So we'll see when they face a proper team what they're made of. But I just don't like any of the changes that they've made. I just don't like any of the business that they've done. Let me back that up rather than just using it as a generic comment. Based on what transfer marks have, bear with me. They have got in Guendouzi on a permanent from Marseille, Shuana from Salernitana, Noslin from Verona, Castrovilli on a free transfer. I mean, that sort of says it all. They've gone for a really, really injury-prone 27-year-old, Dele Bashiru, and they've lost Luis Alberto, Luis Maximiano, Raul Moro, Daichi Kamada, Felipe Anderson, Ciro Immobile. Yeah, I think they've got worse. And
yeah,
their coaching's downgraded. Moving on. How will we do in the Champions League and in the Coppa Italia? Obviously, the Coppa Italia bracket is out there. But in the Champions League, we don't know who we're going to get. But the new league system means that there's no group stage draw. It's basically you just put into your sections.
So we don't know who we're going to have in the Coppa Italia yet, right? Or possible people. I have no idea what the bracket looks like.
We don't know who we will play in the last 16 yet because they're all playing for the chance to play us, if that makes sense. But that's when we enter. But if things go as they should do, we would have Roma in the quarters and we would have Inter in the semis. And with the Coppa Italia, sometimes it doesn't go that way. Like Bologna knocked out Inter and then Atalanta knocked us out. So, yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that's... It always goes like that, it seems. Then I'm going to assume we make it to the semis. Bare minimum. I'm never confident that we get past Inter in a cup game for whatever reason. Just hasn't happened in a while. For Champions League, I really don't even understand how it plays out this season. So that's a tough one as well. Do they?
Yeah.
It has a standard knockout stage, or
so what I've got here is I think we'll lose to Roma in the quarterfinal of the cup. I don't know why. It's just a vibe. Like after the Europa League, the scars are there. I know it's a new coach and stuff, but just what I've got in my mind. And then we'd avoid into in the semis. But in the Champions League, basically it's the big league thing. If you finish in the top 8, you're automatically through to the last 16. If you finish 9th through to 24th, this is how mad it is. 9th through to 24th, you go into a playoff to make the last 16. Don't ask. I didn't come up with it. I think we'll finish in that middle portion.
Yeah.
I think we'll finish 9th to the middle part of that. And I think we'll win the playoff that we have to get into the last 16. But then, in all likelihood, in that last 16, we're going to face a good team, one of the elite sides in Europe. So I think we go out in the last 16 of the Champions League.
Okay, I agree.
Great, let's move on. Relegation teams. Hard to call this because, as I said, there's a lot of teams where you look down their business and you're like, don't know, might not be enough that, but then you can't pick 7 teams to go down.
I can pick a
I'm
couple though.
Go for it.
Udinese for sure. I think it's their
Oh,
year.
really?
They just barely skated by last season. The only thing that I know they did was bring in Alexis Sanchez, who, let's be real, he's not gonna set the world ablaze. He's well past it. So that's the only player that I'm sure they brought in more, but that's the only one that sticks out to me. I think they're definitely done this year. I'm also gonna throw in Lecce. I think
Mhm.
last season they did enough to stay up, decently. I guess it was only a three-point swing, but they were pretty high up there. It was just a really close battle last season for relegation, but I don't foresee them doing enough this year. And then my surprise pick is gonna be Como.
Oh,
I just
okay.
don't think the signings were good enough. They picked people who have names, but no one who is a difference maker. I don't think Belotti was ever that guy. Cutrone's been there for a while, and I think that's about his level. Varane's already blown his knee out, so who knows how he returns. Who else did they sign? They signed one other big name guy, right?
Yeah, I've completely lost
Let me
track
see.
at this point.
Yeah, let me just
I
pull it
don't know
up
how
for.
bad Varane's knee injury is, but I
Oh,
just
and
read a
Pepe
headline this
Reina,
month. Oh,
but
yeah. Yeah.
Reina's 40 years old. Oh, he's 41 actually. Adero is their backup goalkeeper, who I guess could be decent, but that's
He must be well
nothing
in his
great.
30s now as well.
Adero is 27.
Mm.
Alberto Moreno, he's in his 30s. He's 32.
Mental.
Simone Verdi, who's been there, he's 32.
Ex-Milan.
Basili's 32. I just think they have a really aging squad for a league that if they're already competing in the second division, they're just not going to stay up. I don't think they
Mm.
did enough.
Mm.
Yeah, that's kind of where I stand with it. I mean, Belotti's 30 also, so there's that. But yeah, I think they're a much older squad than people are realizing, and as much as the glamour behind them, I don't think it matters. I think they're going down.
Yeah, and it's a big test for Fabregas as well, because doing well with quite a big budget in Serie B is different.
Yeah.
He's a rookie coach still ultimately, and we'll wait and see how he gets on. I've got 3 entirely different teams, and the arguments are pretty similar, like just in terms of not done enough business. I said Empoli last year as a fairly bold pick. That was because they finished comfortably mid-table the season before. I'm sticking with Empoli. They've done absolutely fuck all in the window, apart from signing Colombo, basically. So I think they've got worse, and I think this is the year that they drop. I'd even go so far as to say they'll be bottom. Venezia, I don't think they've come up, and I thought they're going to go for it this time and try and actually stay up, and take advantage of the fact that they seem to be a worldwide loved brand, basically.
Yeah.
And again, they've done nothing. It's a pretty underwhelming transfer window so far. Of course, it can change. They can do some late, even loan business and stuff to help themselves out. But I'm not a fan of what they've done. They got relegated back last time, and I think it could be another one-season stay. And Parma is the other team I've got. And that's going to surprise a lot of people. But once again, I'm just not a fan of what they've done. I think it's always hard when you come up from Serie B playing a really good proactive brand of football, as it is from any second division to the top division. Because all of a sudden, you try and play that same way in the top flight, and you're going to come up against teams that are just better and are going to
Yeah.
beat you,
Yeah.
Good luck to Parma if they try and play the way that they have been playing, and credit to them for their journey back up to the top flight. It is great to have them back. But yeah, playing against us or into that certain way, I don't know how it'll go.
Yeah. I think they'll have success against some of the bottom sides, but
Yeah, you might be right. I think they'll where they could get a good chunk of their points is against the other teams that got promoted, and the other
yeah.
teams that were down there last season. If they take 4 points off the likes of Venezia, Empoli, potentially Udinese, and they might just bring a couple of surprises too, because the Tardini is a difficult place to go when it's full and whatnot. But yeah, the relegation thing's pretty open. I had a look at the odds before we started recording, and there doesn't seem to be a consensus on who's going to go down. So
Parma's preseason is very interesting. 3-1 loss to Lugano, 2-0 victory over Galatasaray, 1-0 loss to Heidenheim, 4-1 victory over Atalanta, 1-0 loss to Palermo. Odd. It's like they dropped to all the lower teams, but
I
beat
wonder if
the
they,
good ones.
play better teams against the better ones, and then
Yeah, maybe that's what
I
it
don't
is.
I don't know. Let's do a little bit of quick fire on this then. Capocannoniere, Serie A top scorer.
It'll be Lautaro again.
Yep, I agree. Milan's top scorer.
I think
All
it'll be
comps.
Leao. All comps, it'll be Leao.
All comps.
Yeah.
Pulisic. I'm backing him. I think, and I know I said quick fire, but I think if he does play him in this 10 role, he's going to have more space because of all the threat elsewhere. And I think our front four is going to really click, which leads me into most assists. All comps. For us.
I think that might be Pulisic because he's in the 10 role. He can just ping it back and forth to everyone like he'd got the Jovic assist, but something tells me it's going to be Morata.
I've got Morata. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
just feel like
Yeah.
that it suits him so well. I
Yes.
think the transition from Giroud to Morata actually stylistically makes a lot of sense. He's a
Yeah.
very similar mold, but younger, faster, stronger. Maybe not as flashy with the flicks and things, but he's intelligent, and I could really see him finding his finding form as an assist maker.
Yeah, me too. Exactly the same. Exactly the same reasons. I don't think he's ever been like a massively prolific goal scorer, but he scored 21 all comps last season, and I would absolutely accept that.
Yeah.
But he's always been more that playmaker forward. But I just saw him at with Spain at the Euros, and having two direct wingers either side in Yamal and Nico Williams, and having Olmo in behind. I wonder if we brought him in, watching that, thinking, "Oh, ignore that." Watching that, thinking he can do the exact same with us. Two direct wingers, Pulisic in behind a more technical 10, and that's what we're going to try and replicate. So I've got him. Our player of the season.
I'm gonna say Pulisic. I think goals and assists combined, he'll be our top guy. Uh, I just don't think he'll have the most of either, but combined, obviously the most. So I think it'll be him.
I have got, and this is a bit rogue, Teo Hernandez.
Ooh.
I think last season he was up and down. I think with the new coach, new system, the new style, he puts a lot of emphasis on playing with the fullbacks. We've seen it a bit in pre-season already, and I think he's going to come back very fired up. And I think we're going to see. I can't put him top scorer on most assists because of his role, but I can see him potentially hitting double digits in one of them. Which for a left back would be, my word. That's the doorbell. I don't know if you can hear that, but yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So Teo, I've got as player of the season. Breakout performer.
Emerson Royale.
Mm,
No, I think I'm gonna go back on that. Actually, it's got to be Chukwueze, right? He didn't get a season last year, and if he's gonna be starting now, we know what he's capable of. I think it'll be him. But I do think Royale is gonna be a lot better than people are assuming.
Yeah, like I think last year I picked RLC, I think, as the breakout performer, and not necessarily because people didn't know his name, but just because I thought he was arriving when his stock was very low and that he'd end the season with his stock pretty high. When he was on 10 goals after January, I thought what a masterstroke that was, but then he ended the season pretty poorly, to be honest. So I think Emerson Royale, you can make a similar case for. Like he could come in and surprise people who aren't expecting much out of him. But I've gone Chukwueze as well. I think he's going to get far more starts. He's not going to, fingers crossed, no injuries, but he's not going to miss an important part of the season as he did last year with injury and AFCON. And with this front four, I just think the way that we're going to play, which is going to be so possession-based and width-driven, is only going to benefit him. So, yeah, I'll go Chuck. But, yeah, everybody, let us know what your picks are for each category. What I'll do is I'll put it in the description so people can like copy paste it and put their picks for each. So get involved with that. Finally, just a little bit of rumor stuff, shall we do? So literally like 30 minutes before we started recording this, Fabrizio, Moretto, Di Marzio are all saying that Juve have opened discussions with us for Pierre Kalulu, who they want on loan with an option to buy. Their first offer's already been sent. It's 3 mil loan plus 14 mil option to buy, so that's a total of 17 mil. What was your first reaction? Did you laugh?
I didn't laugh because I can see us accepting it. I don't like it. I don't like that he's given the green light, but I also don't read into that because I feel like players just say yes when a team comes in. They don't really take too much thought into that. Uh, the reality is he didn't get much playing time the last 2 seasons, and probably isn't going to get it again since we signed Pavlovic and Emerson Royale, the two positions he can play. So he's probably
Yeah.
looking at it like I'm 23 years old, something like that,
Yeah,
23,
maybe
24.
24 now. Yeah.
He wants game time. He wants to start, and he probably sees that Juve is a place that will offer that to him because they are not looking good right now. Uh, so I can see that being why. Plus, it's not too far from Milan, so lifestyle is not going to change a whole lot. Um, I think it's a move that he might view as beneficial to him, and that might push it through. It's unfortunate. I really do like Kalulu, and I thought he had a chance of kind of earning that starting spot again this year. But yeah, it's got to be higher. It's got to be over 20 for me. I know you and a lot of other people are thinking Chiesa swap. I don't want Chiesa at all. I'd
Yeah,
rather.
that wasn't me endorsing it. I just, with the links that have come
Oh
out,
yeah,
I just
yeah,
wondered if it'd be talked about,
yeah. I
Yeah.
would rather 20 to 25 mil flat fee, if anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not surprised actually that they've turned to him. Really, when you consider that they were going to, well, they were pretty close by all accounts to signing Todibo, and they definitely wanted some help for the defensive department. I noticed that Bremer has been playing right back for them in pre-season, and that's not where he should be, quite
No.
simply. So I think they would probably look to sign a right-sided defender and shuffle everyone across one. And Kalulu kind of fits the bill in that sense, depending on how Motta's wanting to play. I could see him being a decent fit there. However, you're right. We should absolutely, under no circumstances, be accepting any kind of loan formula, because then you're just helping out a rival with basically nothing in return. The transfer fee that we should be asking for should be different from Juve versus if a team from the Premier League comes in or whatever, because ultimately there's more at stake for us if he goes to a rival. So I would be asking them for 30 million. I'm not saying they'll pay it, but we've seen teams do it to us, Even
Yeah,
Torino, who aren't even, they're not a rival, but they wanted 40 million for Bongiorno.
yeah,
It happens. And I think if we knocked on the door for any of Juve's decent players, they'd probably ask for a very high transfer fee. It's either pay it or we're not helping you out. You've got a
yeah,
position of need. You're weakening us at the same time, so pay up. But yeah, then for the Premier League, it might be more realistic. It might be like, okay, he's probably going to be fifth choice centre back. He could potentially be third choice right back. 20 million, and we can use that to work on some other options. We thought it'd be Salamakers who gets sold to bring in the funds to go out and sign maybe a Samadzic or get the Fafana deal over the line. But if it has to be someone like Kalulu, who understandably probably has a little bit more value, then I don't absolutely hate the idea. It just can't be to Juve, and it definitely can't be on loan. So
Yeah.
I think that's where we're at, right?
I will say that the summer window this year has been very slow. There's not been a
Yes.
whole lot. I think Chelsea's done a shit ton as they always do, and Atletico Madrid has spent quite a bit of money on like 2 players. But
Yeah.
outside of that, I mean, Napoli might be the next highest spender on Buongiorno.
Yeah. I think Lenny Yoro to Man United is the most expensive transfer of the summer so far, which is like wild,
How
really.
much was
It's
it?
been 70-ish.
Oh my god, I didn't know he went for that
I
much.
don't know how to
Julian
find
Alvarez
that. Let
will
me see if I can
pass
find it on
that,
this.
and
Yeah,
Dominic Solanke was more than that as well, I think, from Tottenham. I
yeah.
think they did
Oh
like 2 or
yeah,
3
I
around
guess
those
both of
numbers.
them aren't. Yeah, yeah. The um yeah, the big moves have been Atletico Madrid, which is funny. It has been a slow moving market though. I
Yeah.
agree with that.
I just
Um,
think the way the game is going, it's gonna be free transfers more than anything, you know? That's
mm,
been Inter's motive the last few seasons because it's the only way they can do it. But then you look at guys like Mbappe going for free. Um, Messi's obviously older; he left for free. I think Neymar's the only one of that big group who actually had a transfer fee when he left. But most people are just going for free now.
Yeah, like the Premier League as well have basically put the shackles on themselves with this
Yeah,
sustainability thing, meaning that teams like Villa have to sell to buy. You know, teams that have not gone out and spent a shit ton necessarily, or while Chelsea go out and sign 4 keepers and sign another winger for 60 mil, and like something's going to go horribly wrong with them if it hasn't already. But yeah, I
it's
don't see
very
how that could.
interesting. I feel like Chelsea's just they're knocking on the door of something, something
Yeah.
bad.
Yes. But anyway, we'll wait and see. Friday, bonus podcast is going to be Emerson Royale deep dive, as we've been doing for each of the summer signings. He has just done his medical, I read. So that one will be through the door, third summer signing. I guess we can expect some developments in coming days on Fofana / whoever the midfielder is. Just been a bit of Tammy Abraham stuff and the Samajic stuff has gone quiet. So I don't know what we'll do after that. But Zlatan said in the Morata press conference, I think it was Morata, it might have been Pavlovic, he said, God created the world in 7 days. We're on day 4. So he's hinting that stuff's still to come in his typically show business way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been your host, Ollie Fisher. Follow me on Twitter at Ollie Fisher. AJ, cheers for joining with your vid.
Yeah, we survived. We made it. That's it. We'll see you guys soon.
Gol! Ancora Teo! È una meraviglia! Il gol di Teo Hernandez da un'area all'altra! È una meraviglia! Senti il